I just had to let you know you're. She a happy baby boo. She a happy baby boo.
Good day everyone, we are the group 2 and we will be discussing the mathematical language and symbols. And for the objectives, 1. Discuss the language, symbols, and conventions of mathematics. 2. Explain the nature of mathematics as a language. 3. Performs operations on mathematical expressions correctly. 4. Acknowledge that mathematics is a useful language. 5. Use different types of reasoning to justify statements and arguments made about mathematics and mathematical concepts. And 6. Write clear and logical proofs. For the lessons, we have 2.1, the fundamental elements of language of mathematics. We have 5, so A, numbers, B, sets, C, relations, D, functions, and E, operations. And for the 2.2 lessons, mathematics as a language. And then for the language, language as defined by dictionaries is a body of words or symbols, and that the system for their use common to a people who are of the same community or nation. So we'll know that language is, and then we have so many different language. And the language is a system of communication that use words, symbols, or sign to convey a meaning. And then it's ways to expressing our thoughts, ideas, and feelings among people. So move on, the same geographical area or the same cultural tradition. It is a systematic means of communicating by the use of sounds or conventional symbols. So it depends on how you pronounce the words to understand you. Aside from the symbols, one's understanding of the language is enormously enhanced by a knowledge of a basic grammar or syntax. So by knowing the basic grammar and syntax of a language is crucial to know the true meaning and to use it effectively. And the syntax is the arrangement of words and phrases to form a sentence and to convey meaning. So let's move on. This understanding is essential for anybody who wants to learn more about the language and its usage. It will be then that the one is able to communicate with one another. The same is true of mathematics. One needs to learn to understand the mathematical language in order to think, to comprehend, and to communicate mathematically. Mathematics is as a language is composed of vocabularies consisting of symbols and words, and grammar, which is a set of rules on how to use these symbols. So move on. Mathematical symbols combined with words can convey complex, powerful ideas more efficiently than any other language. So if we can combine the mathematical symbols with words, it can upper the other language, and we can create a powerful idea. And it has been a tool and a great instrument for knowledge and wisdom to develop and flourish. The history of man's civilization is in a parallel with the history and development of mathematics. It has become a universal language. So mathematics is naging universal na language sa paggamit nito. Thus, the object of this section is to explain the most important mathematical parts of speech, some of which are similar to those of natural language and other quite different. So let's move on from the lesson 2.1, the fundamental elements of language of mathematics. So mathematics deals with ideas, relationship, quantities, processes, ways of figuring out certain kinds of things like reasoning, generalizing, and many more. It uses words, but it is not about words. The ideas, when they are shared, need to have means for they be conveyed. So sa pagbibigay natin ng ideas, dapat may bigay rin natin kung ano yung mga meaning na yun. So, a plain knowledge of the mathematical term does not imply that we know the language. Knowing the denominator and addend is not math does not make one mathematical. So, words help us communicate. The nature of the language of mathematics has a number of distinctive features that is different from the common spoken language. It includes aspect are particular to mathematics and has implied to other disciplines. So for this, the nature of the language of mathematics has a number of distinctive features that is a different from the common spoken language. For example, the symbols and notation of it, like this sign for addition, subtraction, multiplication. So move on. The language of mathematics has a specialist mathematical vocabulary, which includes the technical terms specific to mathematics like equilateral, quotient, probability, and the second specialist use of more general terms like line, factor, frequency, and then the last mathematical terms that we use every day for conveying ideas, so function, expression, difference, and area. And then the advantage of mathematical notation, both symbolic and graphical, is that it is highly compact, conveying a lot of information ideas in very little space, and focus on conveying the important information for the current situation and committing the rest.
So, let's proceed to our first topic, which is yung number po. So, ano nga ba yung numbers? Saan natin siya ginagamit? So, ang numbers is siya yung nag-identify kung ilan ba ang isang object. So, isang object, isang tao, or isang bagay. Ibig sabihin, sa isang silid, merong 5 student. So, ilan ang bilang ng student sa isang silid? 5. So, doon na-identify natin kung gaano karami, kung ilan ba yung isang tao. Ganun po. So, next is Indo-Arabic number system. So, dito naman is, ito yung ginagamit natin pang araw-araw. Yung 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So, ito, nakadepende siya sa place value. Ibig sabihin, nagbabago yung value niya ng number, depende kung saan siya nakapwesto. For example, ang 3, sasamahan ko na isang 0, ang magiging basa sa kanya 30. Kapag ang 30, sinamahan ko pa na isang 0, ang magiging basa sa kanya 300. Ang magiging value niya is 300. So, next naman is yung whole number. Dito naman, ginagamit natin siya kapag nagbibilang ng isang bagay. So, for example, meron akong isang extension dito. Di ba ang bilang sa extension na to ay isa, whole number. So, for example, is meron akong isang charger dito. Ang bilang sa charger na to is whole number. Kasi bagay siya. So, next is magnitudes. Ang magnitudes ay number na may kasamang label all unit. Hindi sapat ang number lang. Kailangan alam din natin kung anong sinusukat nito. Di ba? For example, 60. Pag 60 ba siya, 60 ano siya, number lang. Kapag 60 kilometer, may kasama siyang speed. So, gano'n lang po yun. Sa fractions naman, ang fractions ay ginagamit para ipakita ang parte ng isang buo o paghahambing ng dalawang quantities. Maaari itong isulat bilang fraction or decimal. Sa fraction naman, kunyari, 1/2 of pizza, gano'n. Sa decimal naman is 0.5 liter ng tubig o 1.5 liter ng coke. Ganun po yun. So, next naman sa negative numbers. Ang negative numbers ay numbers na mas mababa sa 0. Makikita ito sa left side ng 0 sa number nila. So, for example, di ba? Eto. So, dito, negative 300. So, posible siya na may utang ako na 300, ganon. So, tas dito naman sa may 0 ay negative 5 Celsius. So, eto naman, ano siya, temperature siya. Ganun po yan. So, next is the uses of numbers. So, ang numbers ay hindi lang pang-count. Ginagamit din ito para mag-measure ng time, weight, distance, ganon. Sa mag-ayos din ng order. Kunyari, sa mga ranking sa street number, ganon. So, pwede din siya mag-identify ng isang tao. Kunyari, sa phone number, ganon. Sa number ID, which is yung pwede yan. Ayan. So, that's all po. Thank you.
So, the next topic we have is the letter B or sets. Ano nga ba yung sets? Ito yung mga computations na kinakailangan ng sets or yung pagkakasunod-sunod para malaman kung ano yung equal. So sa sets, mayroon tayong 4 basic operations. Ayun yung union, intersection, complement, at difference. So ito yung union. Intersection, complement, and difference. Ayun yung mga symbol nila. So let's try to solve using a Venn diagram. Let's say ang given natin ay sa union meron tayong 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Set A, meron tayong 2, 4, 6, and 8. Sa set B, mayroon tayong 7, 3, 4, 5, and 1. So, using a Venn diagram, gagawa tayo ng Venn diagram, syempre. So, ito yung mga given natin. And, ito yung ginawa nating Venn diagram. So, si union, ito siya. And si set A, kung ano yung mga nakalagay na yan sa set A, ilalagay lang natin doon sa loob ng bilog ng A. 2, 4, 6, 8. And dito naman sa set B, kung ano yung mga nasa set B na yon, is ilalagay lang natin yung dito sa bilog ng B. 7, 3, 4, 5, 1. And dito naman sa gitna, ayun yung tinatawag natin kaninang intersection. Ilalagay natin sa gitna kung ano yung pinagkamuka ng set A and set B. So, ang tanging pinagkamuka lang ng set A and set B ay yung number 4. Nalagay natin siya. Kung mapapansin nyo, nandito lahat ng number puwera kay number 9. Si number 9, hindi siya nakasama sa set A and set B. So, ilalagay natin siya sa loob ng sa labas ng Venn diagram. Dito siya. So, try nating mag-solve gamit itong mga question na to. Wait lang. So, ito yung kanina, A, intersection, B. Kung ano yung same number sa set A and set B. Ayun nga, yung number 4. Sa B, B complement naman, ang technique dito is tatakpan natin yung letter B na bilog kasama yung number 4 kasi kasama siya doon sa pinakabilog ng B. So, ang ating makukuha lang is 2, 4, 6, 8, and 9. 4, 6, 8, and 9. Sa A complement, kabaliktaran ng ginawa natin kanina. Ang tatakpan naman natin sa A complement ay yung A. So, ang makukuha lang natin ay 1, 3, 4, 5, 7, and 9. Dito naman sa A, difference B, is tatakpan natin yung letter B. And ayon, ang makukuha nating sagot ay 2, 4, 6, 8. Kung mapapansin nyo dito sa A difference B, ang kinuha lang natin is itong 4. Kasi, kaya yun lang yung kinuha natin. Kasi hindi hinahanap yung number 9 or yung union. Naka-specified siya. Dito naman, ito yung pinakamadaling computation sa lahat ng to. A, union B, kung ano yung union or pangkalahatan ng A and B. So, ayun yung 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So kung mapapansin nyo, hindi nakasama si number 9. Bakit? Kasi ang hinahanap lang dito is yung union ng dalawang set, which is yung set A and set B. So the next one we have are the 5 laws of set, which are commutative law, associative law, identity law, inverse law, and distributive law. So sa commutative law, kapag nag-combine kayo ng dalawang sets, hindi na importante kung ano yung pagkakasunod-sunod. Kasi pareho lang rin yung magiging result. So let's say, for example, ang isosolve natin ay A union B is equals to B union A. Ang set A natin ay 1 and 2. Set B naman ay 2 and 3. Ang pinaka sagot natin dito ay hinahanap ko ano yung union ng dalawa. So ang pinaka union nila, sasamahin mo lang kung ano yung dalawang set na to. Set A and B is equals to 1, 2, and 3. Ito yung union ng dalawa. So mapapansin nyo, parehas lang rin kung ano union ng dalawa, kung ano yung hinahanap sa parehas na computation. So the next law we have is associative law. Kapag tatlong sets ang pinagsama, hindi na importante kung paano siya ginroup kasi pareho lang rin yung magiging result. So, halimbawa, ang set A natin ay 1, set B ay 2, and set C is 3. Ito A, B, C. Ito sila. Then, ang magiging result lang nito, kahit ano pang computation ang ilagay mo dyan, is ang magiging final answer lang is 1, 2, and 3. Kasi ang hinahanap nga, yung union nilang tatlo. So the next one we have is the identity law. May mga special sets na kapag pinagsama na sa isang set, hindi nagbabago yung set na yon. So let's say for example, dito na rin lumalabas yung empty set and yung union. So let's say A union empty set. So halimbawa ang set A natin ay 1 and 2. 1 and 2. And ang pinakasagot din nun is ito yung computation na kailangan nating sagutin. So A union empty set is equals to 1 and 2 lang din. Kasi kapag empty set, wala yung laman na numbers. Ang hinahanap lang dito kung ano yung union ng set A, which is ayun lang din yung given natin. So the fourth one is inverse law. Let's say for example A union A complement. So sa inverse law naman, yung isang set ay kabaligtaran ng nagbibigay ng universal set or empty set. Kabaligtaran lang. So halimbawa, ang union natin ay A complement. 1, 2, and 3. And kung ano yung equal ng dalawang to, doon lalabas si union. Doon lalabas si union, which is 1, 2, and 3. The last one we have is distributive law. Dito naman kay distributive law, para ka lang nagbibigay ng mga items sa iba't ibang groups. So let's say for example, dito tayo sa taas. Let's say for example, set A is apple, banana, and orange. Set B naman is apple and grape. Set C is banana and grape. Ang computation natin ay A intersection parenthesis B union C is equals to A intersection B slash union A intersection C. So ito yung computation natin. So ito yung computation natin and ito yung given natin. So sa left side, ang una nating hahanapin is kung ano yung union ng B and C. Ano nga ba yung union ng B and C? B and C. A, B, G. Ayun yung union or apple, grapes, and banana. B, U, C. Apple, grapes, banana. Then, kapag na-solve na natin si apple, grape, banana, hahanapin na natin kung ano yung intersection ng na-solve natin sa loob ng parenthesis. Ito yon, yun sa loob ng parenthesis. So, ano yung intersection ni A at saka nung na-solve natin? A, ito yung mga A natin, kung ano yung kamuka ng na-solve natin dito. Ang kamuka lang ay yung A and B. So, ang pinakasagot natin ay A, B, G. A, B, and G. Yes, tama. So, sa right side naman, ang i-compute na natin is kung ano yung intersection ng A and B, which is yung apple. A and B, apple. Yung intersection ng C at A is banana. Ito yon. C and A. Ito yon. B. Ito yung B intersection A. Ito yung C intersection A. Which is kung ano yung pinagkamukha ng set A and ng set C, which is B. So kung isusulat natin siya, ang sagot ay apple and banana. So, kung mapapansin nyo, yung kung ano yung union ng dalawang nakuha natin dito, which is etong dalawa, pagsasamahin lang natin siya, dito natin makukuha si A and B. So, kung ano yung na-solve natin sa loob ng parenthesis, yung union nun is A and B. So, ito yun. So, parehas lang siya doon sa una nating sinolve na A, B. So, same result lang din, and ayun yung laws of sets.
I will be discussing relations. Relations abound in daily life. People are related to each other in many ways as parents and children. teachers and students, employers and employees, and many other. So, yung relations daw, related kayo sa isa't isa. Parang yung nanay mo, tapos ikaw, that means relations. Yung relations, think of it as a bridge na nagko-connect sa input and output. In business, things that are bought are related to their cost, and the amount paid is related to the number of things bought. We also look at the relation of the prices as the supply is increased or reduced. In geometry, we say that the area is also related to the volume. In physics, distance traveled is related to the velocity. In general, we relate one set of information to the other. Thus, any correspondence between the elements of two sets is a relation. Relation is any rule that is relation daw ay isang rule that pairs members of one set with members of another set. Yung domain, ito yung tinatawag na start, or this is usually the set of all first values, and usually siya yung x. Think of it as the input or the cost, while yung the range naman, ito yung output. It's the set of all second values. Ito naman yung y. Think of it as the output or the effect. So, example, 1, 2, 2, 4, 3, 6, 4, 8, 5, 10. Kung mapapansin nyo, isa silang set. It means may relation sila sa isa't isa. Kung ang domain is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, ang range naman is 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So, ang rule dito is, in this specific case, the second number is always double the first. So, y equals to x. Meron daw tayong 4 ways to show a relation. The first one is ordered pairs. Ito yung, sinabi ko nga kanina, ito yung 1, 2, and 2, 4. It means may relation sila sa isa't isa. Because 1, anong kasunod ng 1 equals 2. So, next is table. Ito lang yung simple x and y na chart. And the third one is graph. Dots are lines on a coordinated plane. The next one is arrow diagram or mapping. Drawing circles for sets and using arrows to connect elements. The next one is types of relations. Meron tayong one-to-one. For example, is one input equals to one unique output. The next one is one-to-many. One input equals to several inputs. The next one is many to one, several inputs, one same output. Yun dun sa one to one, ano nga ulit? Doon sa one to one, for example, is yung student number natin. Hindi lahat ay pare-parehas ng student number. And then din naman sa one to many, for example, yung isang mother, pwede siyang magkaroon ng maraming anak. Yun yung one to many, for example lang. And then many to one, for example, yung students, pwede nilang maging pare-parehas na maging teacher yung iisang teacher na yon. So, the next one is equivalence relations. This is the strictest kind of relation. For a relation to be called an equivalence relation, it must pass 3 tests. Use a mirror, swap, and chain analogy. Property, mathematical form, simple explanation. An equivalence relation has the following properties. Reflexive, x to x, symmetric, if y to x equals then y to x. No, mali, baligtad. The balance relation has the following properties. Reflexive, x to x, and then symmetric, if x to y, then y to x. And then sa transitive, if x to y and y to z, then x to z. Reflexive, ito yung mirror, everything is related to itself. And then sa symmetric naman, sa may diswap naman, for example, if kapatid ko si Anthony, and then kapatid niya ako, that's symmetric. And then if transitive naman, for example, kasing age ni Tonya si Jenny, and then Jenny is the same age as Erica, and then Anthony must be the same age as Erica. So, para mas mapadali yung example.
Okay, so now let's talk about function. A function is a very important concept in mathematics. It is a relation where each element in the domain is related to only one value in the range by some rule. An equivalent definition is, a function is a relation in which no two ordered pairs have the same x value but different y values. So when we are talking about function, it should only have one output. So tatandaan natin na dapat walang dalawang ordered pairs na mayroong same x values. Meron dapat silang different y values or magkaiba dapat yung maging output nila. Functions can be represented in these four different ways, which is itong table of values, ordered pairs, graphs, and equation. In evaluating a function, the functional notation y equals f of x allows us to denote specific values of a function. To evaluate a function is to substitute the specified value of the independent variable in the formula and simplify. Let's have this as our example, where our f of x is equals to 2x minus 3. Let us find our f of 2.
The next one is operations. A binary operation on a set A is function that takes pair of elements of A and produces elements of A from them. We use the symbol, yung symbol na asterisk, gana, to denote arbitrary binary operation on a set A. Meron tong four properties. The first one is commutative, the second one is associative, the third one is identity, and the fourth one is inverse. The first one I discussed is relations. Ito yung connections between numbers. Yung operations naman is ito yung tools we use to combine or change them. Ano nga ba meaning ng binary? Binary means 2. So, 2 siya. So, a binary operation takes two elements from a set and combines them to make one new element. Kukuha siya ng isang elements from a set and then pagko-combine niya para to make one new element. Na tayo sa may four properties. Yung sa commutative naman, yung order niya, it doesn't matter. For example, 3 plus 5 is the same as 5 plus 3. Hindi nagmamatter sa kanya kung ano yung order ng numbers. So, the next one is associative. Ito naman, grouping doesn't matter. It doesn't matter which pair you calculate first. Kung dun sa may commutative, wala siyang pakialam kung ano yung order ng numbers. Dito naman sa associative naman, yung groupings naman niya, hindi nagmamatter. Sa may identity naman, ito yung neutral element. It doesn't change the number. Sa may inverse naman, ito yung undo button, combining a number which with its inverse brings you back to the identity. Dito tayo sa computation, variable, constant, algebraic expression, and then equation. Computation is associated with operations. It is the manipulation of numbers and other symbols to arrive at some new mathematical statement. Sa may variable naman, ito yung symbol that assumes many values used to represent unknown in a problem. Sa may constant naman, it is a quantity that assumes a specific value and whose values remain unchanged throughout the problem. So may algebraic expression naman is it is a collection of algebra symbols of constant variables or finite numbers of indicated operations involving variables and constants. Sa may equation naman, ito yung statement that two algebraic expressions are equal. Therefore, an equation always includes the quality symbol.
So, let's proceed to lesson 2.2, which is yung definitions in mathematics. So, first is, ano nga ba yung definition in mathematics? So, dito, siya yung nag-identify ng isang object or ng isang ideya. For example, di ba, kapag sinabi ba natin na math is, ano ba yung pumapasok sa isip natin? Numbers, subtractions, additions, divisions. So, kumbaga, ang definitions is nakakatulong siya para ma-identify natin yung isang bagay at isang ideya. So, we have 4 types of definition, which is the good definition, poor definition, bad definition, and unacceptable definition. Sa good definition, dito yung maikli, simple lang, and direct to the point. Kompleto. Sa poor definition naman, tama yung definition na binibigay niya, pero maraming information na naka-input kaya nakakalito. Sa bad definition naman, kulang na nga yung information na binibigay niya. Tapos, hindi pa siya tama. Sa unacceptable definition naman is, hindi siya naka-sentence. So, next is, math as a language. So, ang math ay may language din. Kumbaga, language expression, ganon. So, dito, sa math language is, dito mo na-identify, minsan kasi tama yung English word, pero wala siyang sense sa math. So, for example, di ba? Di ba sa English may nouns tayo? Pangalan ng tao, pangalan ng lugar or bagay. At may sentences tayo, which is complete thoughts. So, pwede rin silang maging true, false, or sometimes true, sometimes false. Diba? For example, the word mathematics has 11 letters. Tama siya kasi M-A-T-H-E, matics. So, ma-identify natin siya as a true. Tapos, another example is, the word mathematics has 8 letters. Ibig sabihin, false siya, di ba? So, tapos, yung mathematics is difficult, depende sa tao siya. Sometimes true, sometimes false. Kasi di ba, hindi naman tayo same perspective or same ng thoughts sa ibang tao. So, sa math naman, may expressions tayo. Yung parang pangalan lang ng math object, di ba? Halimbawa, mga number sets, ganon, matrix, ordered pairs, averages, ganon. Hindi pa niya sinasabi kung tama o mali. Tapos may mathematical sentences or statements na parang math version sa English. Pwede rin silang true, false, or sometimes true, false. For example, di ba? 2 plus 3 is equals 5 is true. 2 plus 3 is equals 4 is false, di ba? Sometimes, x is equal to, depende siya, di ba, sa value ng x. So, basically, kapag tama at malinaw yung pagsusulat ng math sentences, mas madali isolve yung problems. At mas malinaw rin kapag magpo-prove ka ng theorems or conjectures. Parang organization lang kapag clear, less mistakes. That's all po sa part ko.
Logic and reasoning. Logic is the science of reasoning, proof, thinking, or inference. Logic allows us to analyze a piece of deductive reasoning and determine whether it is correct or not, to determine if the argument is valid or invalid. It is a tool used in mathematical proofs. The rule of logic specify the meaning of mathematical statements. For instance, these rules help us understand and reason with statements. Logic is the basis of all mathematical reasoning and all automated reasoning. So there are two statements, which is the first one is synthetic statements, and then the second one is analytical statements. The first one, ito yung verified siya by experience. For example, it is raining. Kailangan mong tumingin sa labas para ma-verify mo kung totoo ba yung sinasabi. The second one is verified siya by argument. For example is 1 plus 1 equals to, hindi mo na siya kailangan pang patunayan because andun na yung truth, which is yung number 2. 1 plus 1 is always equals to 2. Logic is a tool for working with complicated compound statements. It includes a language for expressing them, a concise notation for writing them, and methodology for objectively reasoning about their truth or falsity. It is the foundation for expressing formal proofs in all branches of mathematics. Logic is meron siyang 5 basic logical connectives. The first one is conjunction. Next is disjunction. Third is implication. And fourth is biconditional. And the last one is negative. Conjunction, or ito yung symbol na V na binaligtad, para siyang triangle. Ito yung both parts must be true. And then sa may disjunction naman, ito naman yung pa-V na sign. Ito yung at least one part must be true. Ito yung pa-arrow. This represents a cause and effect relationship. And then the next one is biconditional. Ito yung arrow na magkadugtong, magkabila is yung arrow nila. Both sides must be exactly the same. And then the last one is negation. Ito yung pa-sign na ganun, para siyang wave. Ito yung opposite.
So we have next is the truth value. Meron tayong 5 kinds of truth value: negation, disjunction, conjunction, implication, and biconditional. So sa negation, pinakasimple lang yan. Nagdadagdag tayo ng word na not. Let's say for example sa preposition natin, magdadagdag tayo ng she is pretty. True. She is lazy. False. Dito sa negation, i-negate natin siya. Sa negation ng sentence na to is she is not pretty. Magdadagdag tayo ng word na not. She is not pretty. Automatic false. She is not lazy. Automatic true. So the next one we have is the disjunction. So dito sa disjunction, ang technique dito is titignan mo lang kung may true. Pagka may true yung katabi niya, automatic true na yung disjunction, yung pinaka findings. So true is true. True false, may katabing true is true. True F, true pa rin kasi may katabi siyang true. FF is F or false. The third one is the conjunction. Kabaliktaran siya ni disjunction. Si disjunction, kung si disjunction is hinahanap yung true, kay conjunction hinahanap yung F. Kapag may katabing F, automatic F or false. True, false, false. False yan na. False, true is false. false, false, false. The fourth one we have is the implication. So, ito yung symbol ni implication. Ito yung mga symbol nila. Yan na yung mga symbol nila. So, kay implication naman, is hahanapin mo lang kung may true at false, automatic false. So, true, false, ito siya, false. Siya lang yung nag-iisa na T and F. Automatic false. Yung iba, automatic true. Again, kay implication ang hahanapin lang is yung magkasunod na true and false. So, true and false is equals to false. Ito siya. The last one we have is by conditional. From the word itself, by, hahanapin mo yung magkamukha. So, true, true is true. False, false is false. So, dito, hahanapin mo yung magkamukha is dalawa lang naman yung magkamukha dyan, which is yung false, false, and true, true. Lahat automatic false.
So for our next topic, which is writing an argument in symbolic form. So let us first define what is an argument. An argument consists of a set of statements called premises and conclusion. It can also be written in symbolic form using letters. An argument statement is considered to be valid if the conclusion is true and whenever all premises are assumed to be true. So, sa isang argument statement, magiging valid lang siya kapag ang ating conclusion at premises ay both true. Argument is considered to be invalid if the premises are true and the conclusion is false. In an argument, yung validity ng isang argument statement is nakabase siya sa premises. So kapag ang premises mo ay true at ang conclusion ay true, both are true, that is considered as a valid argument statement. So kapag ang premises mo naman ay true at ang conclusion ay false, that is already considered as an invalid argument statement. So that's for the writing an argument in symbolic form.
So now, let's move on to the next topic, which is the rules of inference. But what is the rules of inference? It is the process of deriving logical conclusions from premise known or assuming to be true. So when we're writing a conclusion in an argument, we assume first that the premises are true or known to be true. And after that, we will be deriving now in a conclusion based on those premises. And to do that, we will be applying the different rules of inference. So let's discuss them one by one. The first is what we call addition. We only have one premise, which is P, or a single proposition. Now, we assume that the P is known to be true. We can add another proposition using the OR symbol. You can add anything that you want, any proposition that you think of, as long as you're gonna get that using the connective OR. Next is simplification. In this case, what we have is P and Q. But in our conclusion, it will only be P. Next is conjunction. When we say conjunction, it means combine. We will combine the two premises using the end symbol. So our conclusion will be P and Q. Next is constructive dilemma. In the constructive dilemma, we have here three premises. The first two are both implications, and then the third one is disjunction. To make it short, we cancel the double proposition, which are the P and the R. Therefore, in our conclusion, the Q, the symbol of OR, and then the S proposition. Next is modus ponens. Modus ponens, we have two premises. So the first is implication, and then the second is a single proposition. Again, we cancel the double proposition, which is the P, therefore the conclusion is Q. Next is modus tollens. In this case, what we have is two premises. The first one is still an implication, and then the second premise is not Q. That means we are negating the consequent. Therefore, our conclusion is not P. Because we assume here that the first premise consequent will not be happening. So therefore, the antecedent of the second premise of that should not happen as well. Next is hypothetical syllogism. In this case, what we have is two premises that are both implication. To conclude, what we do is just get the P if then R, because the consequent of the first premise, which is the Q, is the antecedent of the second premise. Second to the last is the disjunction syllogism. We have here two premises. The first is P or Q, and then the second is the negation of P. If this already false, because it is a negation, so therefore, our only choice is Q. Lastly, the destructive dilemma. As the constructive dilemma, at this destructive dilemma, we have here three premises. The two premises are implication, and then the third premises is not Q or not S. This means that the either of the two consequents might not happen. Therefore, the antecedent should not be happening as well. Let's take a look in an example here. It is sunny this afternoon and it's colder than yesterday. This is a statement. Sa statement na to, kailangan natin i-copy bawat sentence para makakuha ng ideya. It is not sunny this afternoon. This is an idea. So we need to create a proposition. P be our proposition for this. Every idea we get, we will create a proposition. It is colder than yesterday. This is another idea. So we need to add another proposition. Q be our proposition for this. But what is proposition? A proposition variables are the symbol that represent a statement or a premise. If we analyze the statement, there's a keyword in it. If you remember the different logical connectives like and, or, if then, if only if, and not, together with connective word, they form one premise in a logical form. Let's try. In our first statement, meron siyang not. That's why we will place it at the beginning of P and then the symbol of and then the Q. So therefore, our first premise is not P and Q. Another example. We will go swimming only if it is sunny. This is another statement. We need to chop it again. We will go swimming. This is another idea. So we need to add another proposition. R be our proposition for this. Only if it is sunny. This idea, it's just like our first statement. That's why we don't need to add another proposition for this. We just copy the P without not because the statement doesn't have not. Only if it is sunny, wala siyang not. This part is called implication because it uses the if-then. If it is sunny. In an logical form, are, if, then, P. So this is our premise 2. Another example. If we do not go swimming, then we will take a canoe trip. If we do not go swimming, katulad lang din nung una, meron na siyang proposition. Kaya hindi na tayo magdadagdag ng another proposition. We will take a canoe trip. This is another idea. So we need to add another proposition. This statement is also implication. In logical form, not or, if then S. Meron ulit siyang not. If we do not go swimming, so we need to add another not symbol sa unahan. So this is our third premise. Another example. If we take a canoe trip, then we will be home by sunset. This is another statement. Kailangan ulit natin i-chop yung bawat sentence. If we take a canoe trip, again, meron na siyang ulit na proposition, kaya hindi na tayo magdadagdag. We will be home by sunset. This is another idea, so we need to add another proposition. T be our proposition for this. So in a logical form, S, if, then, T. So next, ito yung lahat ng mga proposition na ginamit natin. P be the proposition, Q, R, S, and then T. Next, we will go through step-by-step process to show how to reach the conclusion. So step 1, just copy the premise 1, which is not P and Q. In terms of rules of inference, which one is applicable here? Ano yung pwede natin magamit sa iba't ibang rules of inference na diniscuss natin? So yes, simplification. In step 2, the conclusion will be not P. Step 3, just copy the premise 2. Ano yung pwede ulit natin magamit dito? Pero ngayon, gagamitin natin ang step 2, which is not P, and then the step 3, which is our premise 2. Ano yung pwede natin magamit dito? Yes, modus tollens. So, the conclusion of the step 2 and the step 3 is not R. So, yun yung step 4 natin, not R. Step 5, just copy again the premise. And then the step 6, same method. And then, gagamitin natin ang modus ponens. Not R, if then S. Same sila. Not R. Cancel that. And then bring down the S. So that will be our step 6. Step 7, just copy our fourth premise. And then the step 8, again, same method. The step 6 and the step 7, gagamitin natin ang modus ponens. So S, and then S, if then T. Again, cancel the S, and then bring down the T. That's how to reach the conclusion of the problem. Note that when the variables in a propositional functions are assigned values, the resulting statement becomes a proposition with a certain truth table. However, there is another important way called quantification to create a proposition from a propositional function. It expresses the words all, some, many, none, and few are used in quantification. So instead of truth table, we use rules of inference, which is way faster than truth table. A propositional function is like a sentence with a blank. For example, Px, X is a student. We can tell if it is true or false because we don't know who X is. When you replace the variable with the real value, the sentence becomes a complete statement. For example, P, and then yung X, papalitan natin ng pangalan, which is Ana. P, Ana. Now, Ana is a student. Then, it can now be judged as true or false. But in quantification, instead of naming one person, we can talk about a group. You can turn a propositional function into a proposition by using words that show quantity, like all, some, many, none, and few. This method is called quantification. Quantifier. A quantifier is a construct that specifies the quantity of specimens in the domain of discourse that satisfy a formula. Quantifiers is a word or symbol that tells how many specimens the things you are talking about. Example, students, apples, people. Domain of discourse, the group we are looking. Example, all students in class. Satisfy a formula, the things that makes the statement true. There are two types of quantification, universal and existential. Universal means for all or for everyone. Existential means for some or at least one. Let's start with universal. If we say Px for all x in the domain, it means for all x in the domain, Px is true. Symbolically, we write baliktad na A, X, and then Px. Again, what is domain? Domain is a group we're talking about. For example, all students, all people, all integer numbers. And what is Px? Px is a statement about X. For example, Px, X is even. Px, X is a student. How do we know when for some x, Px is true? If there is not a single x, that is false. For example, our domain is 2, 4, 6, 8, and our Px is x is even. The statement for all x in the domain Rx are even. It is true because 2, 4, 6, 8 are all even numbers. So therefore, for all x, px is true. And then how do we know if for all x, px is false? If there is at least one in an x in the domain for which px is not true. For example, our domain is 1, 2, 3, and 4. Our px is x is even. The statement for all x in the domain x are even. It is false because 1 and 3 are not even numbers. So therefore, for all x, px is false. Now, let's talk about existential quantifier. Again, when we say existential quantifier, it means there exists at least one thing in the domain for which px is true. For example, our domain, all the student in your class. px, x likes ice cream. Magiging true lang siya kapag at least isa sa buong klase nyo ang may gusto ng ice cream. At magiging false naman ito kapag lahat kayo ay may ayaw sa ice cream. The quantifiers for all and for some have higher precedence than all logical operators like and, or, if then, if only if, and not. Kumbaga, mas mataas ang for all and for some kaysa sa mga connective words if you want to change the meaning, you need to put parentheses. For example, when you write statement like for some x, px, and qx, automatically interpreted as parenthesis for some x, px, close parenthesis, and qx. The quantifier for some only applies to px because for some has higher precedence than and symbol. Qx is not affected by the for some unless you put parenthesis. Example, for some x, parenthesis, px, x, and qx, parenthesis. Nasa loob ng parenthesis yung both px and then qx. That changes the meaning because now the same x is used for both px and qx.
So let's move on to the De Morgan's laws for quantifiers. So we have a table here for so let's start the negation. So there exists x and px, the first one, and then for all x, px. So the first one is there exists px, so equivalent statement. So for all and px, when is negation true? For there exists px. For every x, px is false, and when it false, there is an x for which px is true. And then for the for all px, equivalent statement is there exists px. So when is negation true? There is an x for which px is false, and when it false, for all is px is true for every x. Multiple quantifiers such as for all x and for all y, and then there exists x and there exists y, and then for all x, and then there exists y, etc. are said to be nested quantifiers ang tawag po ron. These are propositional functions with multiple quantifiers involving more than one variable. Note that every within the scope of a quantifier can be thought as a propositional function, and then we have a example here. So for all x and there exists y, so x plus y equals 0. It's the same thing as for all x qx, where qx is there exists y, px and y, where px and y is x plus y equals 0. So let's move on to the illustrative example. So we have two. So the first one is for all x and for all y, x is greater than 0 and y less than 0. So x and y less than 0, where the domain for both variables consists of all real numbers. So there is a solution for this. The solution is this statement says that for every real number x and for every real number y, if x is greater than 0 and y is less than 0, then x and y less than 0. That is, this statement says that for all real number x and y, if x is positive and y is negative, then x and y is negative. This can be stated more succinctly as the product of a positive real number and a negative real number is always a negative real number. So let's move on for the second example. So for all x and the c is x, or there exists y, c, y, and fx, y. Into English, where cx is x has a computer, and then for fx and y is x and y are friends. So the cx is have x and has a computer, and then the f and x and y is the friends. And then the domain for both x and y consists of all students in your school. The solution: the statement says that for every student x in your school, x has a computer, or there is a student y such that y has a computer and x and y are friends. In other words, every student in your school has a computer or has a friend who has a computer. So that's for all. Thank you. Bye bye.
I just had to let you know you're